Hello, I'm Sarah Jensen, editor of OEM Off Highway, and today I'll be speaking with Custom Products of Litchfield about a new ISO standard for forestry equipment cabs. Thank you both for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
So maybe just to sort of start the conversation, if you could maybe provide an overview of the new ISO 11839 machinery for forestry thrown object guard standard recently introduced.
The new standard that was introduced is a revision to ISO 11839. It's a thrown object standard for mulchers, disc type attachments. Previously, it was a standard that specified glazing and panel material for thrown object of saw teeth. The standard has been updated to establish a laboratory test method for performance requirements of thrown object guarding to protect the operator from reasonable thrown objects. The update was to add mulchers and mulcher drum type attachments which weren't previously there. The standard identifies the different types of teeth that can be used, and it identifies how to calculate the energy required based on the tooth, and then a test method to consistently and as accurately as possible measure it for compliance.
Could you maybe go into a little bit about the new testing procedure that has come in place because of the standard?
Yeah, the test standard previously had a thrown object type test, but it just tested saw teeth of rotary cutters. And it was a consistent tooth, and it was shot at a glazing of 18 inches by 18 inches. The new standard kind of lays out and allows for testing of the entire guard structure.
And now we have different shapes of teeth that we can test with.
Yeah, there's different sizes based on the size drum of the rotating mulcher. So it has opened up a much wider variety of tests and how the test has to be done. So the development of the test, there's much more that's gone into that.
And David's team has done so much research and followed the standard in through its development, so they know all the ins and outs of how to test for it, and they use special tools to measure the angles based on the size of the machine and how the cab sits on it, where the operator sits inside of it, and any potential for any kind of teeth coming off of the mulcher equipment or any kind of debris that might fly free and come in contact with any part of the operator cab.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So how, if at all, might this new standard impact OEMs forestry equipment designs, and or how might you guys work together with them to help them ensure that their designs meet this new standard?
Sure. Previous to this update, the standard only tested the polycarbonate window, and it didn't take into account the entire machine and the guard. Now that the guard is part of the equation, there's many different design avenues that a design team can go to try to absorb the energy of a thrown object. Also, the introduction of mulchers into the standard has greatly increased the amount of energy the guard has to withstand. This leads to many different designs that can impact or prevent a tooth or thrown object from entering the cab and hurting an operator.
And we can test them all, and anybody that has these sort of mulchers on their equipment is going to be affected by the standard. And our facility, our test facility, is fully capable of testing all kinds of equipment to this new standard. And in the process of getting sort of set up for this type of testing and setting up our test lab for it, we tested some protective guards ourselves and kind of came up with some different ideas. So we have a little bit of ingrained knowledge when people might need a little bit of help designing or even manufacturing too, because that's what we do here.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. Could you maybe go into some of those testing procedures a little bit more, and maybe how you might work together with an OEM, if at all, to test for this or maybe other similar types of cab standards?
Sure. So the first part of this standard is to understand what type of attachments people are putting on their machines and what the OEM wants to certify their machine to. Learning what the rotational speed of the cutter is, how the size of the tooth that is on the cutter, all go into how we test. And then once all that is determined, we can set up the thrown object launcher specifically to the size of the tooth, the velocity that's needed, and accurately measure to make sure that it meets the requirements of the standard.
It's kind of cool from a non-technical side of it. It's really interesting to watch these kinds of tests in the lab. It's a huge air cannon, and the shoots things out of it, and these teeth fly at the glass or the door. We've even tested against other materials as well, and it's pretty intense to watch, and you can kind of feel the release of the pressure in the air in the room, and it's cool stuff.
And yeah, previously it was a kind of a consistent tooth that was roughly just under a pound. Now some of the objects that are thrown on the larger mulchers are up over 5 pounds. So throwing a 5-pound object over 150 miles per hour is quite an impact.
Yeah, definitely.
So there's a lot of design work that needs to be done, and understanding what energies have to be absorbed, and a lot of great things that the design teams at the OEMs can have to work on.
And we can collaborate and assist as well.
Okay. Could you maybe go into that a little bit more, the collaboration or assisting that you might, or maybe an example of how you would work together with the OEM?
Well, we are a manufacturer. We manufacture cabs and rollover protection for all sorts of off-highway machines, roll bars and ROP structures and Cadillac type cabs. So that's our area of expertise, is operator protection. And so we made sure that when this standard was onboarding in the industry, that we were a part of it, that we were the expert in it, that we had capabilities to test in it, that we had capabilities to design and to build in it. So we definitely like to lend our expertise to people who want to become partners with us in production. And overall, we're concerned, and our business surrounds people's operators' safety.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining me today and providing some insight into this new standard and the testing capabilities you guys can provide for OEMs to ensure they meet the standard.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.